Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by MMA Veteran Waachiim Spiritwolf. Waachiim, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you.
Waachiim, I want to talk a little bit about the trilogy you had with Marius Zarumskis. 3 fights with him. I want to talk about the first fight a little. I mean, there's not that much to talk about. The first fight happened in Strikeforce Challengers. It was over in a really short time, only 6 seconds because of an eye poke. But I wanted to ask you, how serious was that eye poke? Was it just enough to keep you from finishing the fight, or was this something that you were still feeling effects, a week, 2 weeks after?
It was actually more serious than that. It actually took me about 6 months to fully recover. Yeah, and then, unfortunately my vision was just, it was going in and out for 6 months. So, for me, I was just lucky that it wasn't worse. I didn't need surgery. The doctors kept telling me, you just have to give it time. And, it was really frustrating for me because, when you train so hard for a fight and it lasts, 6 seconds, you'd have to go, you'd have to look at a lot of MMA fights to fight any fight that for any reason will stop quicker than that. So, I was extremely frustrated, and, all my fans and people that are familiar with my fighting style know that I love to fight and be exciting, so I was really disappointed,
And now the second fight, you had a couple fights outside of Strikeforce. You had one for Tachi Palace and one for Samurai Pro, and then you fought for Bellator, and then Zarumskis had signed with Bellator. Did you always think that he was going to come back around and this fight was going to be put back together?
I was hoping so because, I felt like we had unfinished business, but, I really wasn't planning on it. I didn't feel like he wanted to fight me, so I just felt like I was a bad matchup for him, but, I think we both have mutual respect for each other. I like his fight style. I really do. I think he's an exciting fighter to watch for the most part. He'll stand and he'll try to finish the fight. So I thought a fight between both of us would be really good for the fans. So, I think that's the way, our fights turned out. You just never knew what was going to happen.
Now, the second fight, walk me through the first 2 rounds, because on a lot of people, their scorecards, a lot of people who were, the judges and, people who were scoring at home, fans, media members, etc., they had you up 2-0. Could you please talk us through the first 2 rounds of that fight?
The first 2 rounds of the fight, I think he was expecting me to just come out with him and trade, and I think I caught him off guard by pushing the fight and, clinching with him, pushing him on the fence, kind of making him work for everything, and it really frustrated him a lot. And then the second round we came out, and that's when we kind of both opened up and landed our heavy shots. And I think I surprised him because I was able to land a heavy strike right after he threw one of his leg kicks. So I was able to land about 20 unanswered shots on the fence. He went running for me, and then I landed a right hook that dropped him. At that point I thought the fight was over. I heard him on the fence. He wasn't fighting back, and then he ran. When he fell down, I thought the ref was going to stop it, but it didn't happen. And I finished the last 2 minutes of the fight on top of him, just landing some ground and pound to finish the round.
In that fight, did he surprise you at all? Or were you kind of thinking that maybe he was not going to come out as aggressive? Because remember, he threw a flying knee at you in the first fight, and that's what led to the eye poke. And if you've seen any of his fights, he loves throwing head kicks. He loves throwing, he loves doing backflips into the guard and somersault kicks and all this crazy stuff. Were you surprised that he wasn't as aggressive and as flashy?
I was definitely expecting some shenanigans.
Right.
He's kind of, you just don't know what you're going to get out of him. His last few fights, I think he just knocked out a Brazilian guy with the reverse heel kick, like a somersault.
Right.
Before my fight, and like I said, man, I like watching the guy. You just never know what he's going to do. So, when I'm fighting him, I just got to make him pay for anything he does that's kind of unconventional. I think I did that. I think when I was able to land some really hard strikes. I didn't really land any, just like a jab or two. I really didn't feel him out. I didn't want him to feel comfortable. So I landed a lot of straights, a lot of hooks, a lot of uppercuts. And, when I hit him hard, I think it hurt him. A couple of times I saw him, and he looked like, what the hell just hit me right now? So, I hit him hard, and, I thought, that second fight for me was, I think that's what people will remember the most of our trilogy is the second fight.
Now, that cut that you suffered in the second fight, it really didn't look that serious on TV. I mean, I've seen a lot of cuts through as many fights as I've seen where, there's be some huge gash right above somebody's eye and the fight keeps going on. And this one, it really didn't seem that major. How serious was this cut?
The cut for me, I believe I could have kept fighting, and I told I told my cut person that, and I told the doctor that. The doctor came over and she already made the decision the fight was going to stop. It seemed like before she even saw the cut. So for me, it was disheartening. But I only got 7 stitches from the cut, and in a matter of 4 to 5 days after the fight, the stitches were out. So I was already healed up. It really wasn't as bad as I think some people thought it was. But it's that's kind of how things go, man. I tell people, fighting, it really replicates life. It's sometimes stuff happens and you don't know why it happened, and and you just move on. It makes you better, and you push harder, and you really just give your best. So I have no excuses, and I just do my best every time I fight.
Now, the third fight at Bellator 72, you lost the fight by split decision. Did you feel that you had done enough to get a win?
I actually fought. Unfortunately, I injured my hand in the first round. It just kind of, when you bust your hand early in a fight, for me it was the first time it ever happened. So, it just limited what I could do in terms of my full arsenal. But I still was able to throw it with power. I still landed a lot of straight rights. And I feel like I landed a lot more power strikes. If you look at the CompuStrike numbers, I landed I landed all straights, all hooks, and all uppercuts the whole fight. He kept flicking out his jab. He threw a couple combos, but I was able to either block or move. And I think we both landed some good shots. But I think that I landed 15 leg kicks. And nowhere was that even mentioned. He didn't land but 1 or 2 leg kicks. So I mean, I think if you look at the CompuStrike numbers, if you look at who was landing the quality shots, and for me, I really felt like I won the fight. Even with the injury, the injury that occurred early in the fight. But I'm always disappointed when it goes to the judges. Because then it becomes an opinion, and I really like finishing fights. That's the only way I know how to fight. So much respect to Zeronskis. He was a really fun guy to fight. And, I wish him best of luck in his future, but, I fought him hard, and, if it ever came to so we could fight again, I'd love to fight him again.
Now, you mentioned the part about a hand injury. I was wondering, because Jimmy Smith, who was one of the commentators, he pointed out that you kept fooling around with your gloves a little. What exactly was going on with the hand? Was maybe a bone broken in there and it was sliding up? What exactly was happening? Because every time you'd go to exchange, you'd step back and then fix the gloves and then go back.
It was an injury early, like I said, early in the fight. My right hand just popped. It popped early in the fight, and it really just stopped working. Right after that. So, and then I tried to overcompensate with the left hand, and at the end of the first or early in the second round, my left hand popped. So, I essentially, both my weapons were kind of taken from me. And I still had to find a way to get through it. I had to find a way to fight hard for 3 rounds. So, I got a warrior spirit, man. I love fighting, and if I'm still breathing, I'm still fighting. So, for me, it's just all heart, and it's how life goes. Like I tell my students, man, I got a lot of great students, and I tell them, man, you got to just find a reason to keep fighting, keep pushing, and when the fight's over, then you move on to the next one.
A question that I've wanted to ask you for a while now is, with these fights with Zarumskis, have you been using the same game plan every single time? Because the first fight 6 seconds, the second fight it was going your way, going good, and then the cut happened, and then this third fight, were you using the same game plan every single time?
It wasn't really the same game plan, but what I wanted to do in general was really make him uncomfortable. I wanted to when he wanted to push the fight, I wanted to tie him up and frustrate him. When he was trying to counter me on that, then I would push the fight with strikes. When he was expecting me to strike, I would take him down or really impose my strength on him with grappling. I think I succeeded for the most part. like I said, whenever there's an injury or something that happens, you have to find a way to persevere through that. So, I was just, proud of my performance. I felt like I pushed hard and did my best, and I feel like this really helped me in my fight career. Believe in myself. That even though something goes wrong, or even though I'm injured, I never had a hand injury like that in a fight before. After 20-something pro fights, I guess I was kind of due for it. So, I have a lot more confidence now going into, my future fights.
Now with Bellator, is your contract up? Did you just have a 3-fight deal, and now you're in negotiation process right now?
Oh, no, I still have another fight after my deal.
Okay. And now, is this exclusive, or could you, if something pops up somewhere, could you fight for a different organization?
I'm still not too sure yet. I really, my manager, Jason House, from Iridium Sports, he really takes good care of me. And, as soon as I get all healed up, I have a doctor's appointment in 3 weeks. They x-rayed my hand, one of my hands, and the fracture was it was pretty good, but they said in about 3 to 4 weeks, they're going to reassess me and let me know where I'm at. So, I'll know then on what my timeline is. But right now, I'm shooting for October. So I'm looking for October, and I'm already fight training right now. I'm doing everything I can that I could possibly do.
Did they mention anything about possibly a tournament? Because keep in mind, the fight with Jamie Hara was awesome. That was a great fight. The second fight with Zarumskis, again, a great fight. And even, the third one was a really competitive fight. Have they mentioned anything about a possible tournament fight for you?
You know what? I'm preparing for anything, and that means if you want me to fight King Kong, I'll fight King Kong,
Right. Right.
Zarumskis is a real tough matchup for anybody. There isn't a lot of fighters that would even take a fight versus Zarumskis, so, I take a lot of pride in fighting him 3 times, and, for a 4th time, even better, But, for me, I'm definitely looking forward to, my next Bellator fight. If it's in a tournament, man, it would be fantastic. But, either way, I'm still preparing for my next fight to be the biggest fight of my life. And I just look forward to that every time I fight, I don't really focus too much on any of the details of the fight, because I feel like, the big guy above is going to put in front of you the path he wants to put. So I'm a very spiritual person, and I believe adversity is meant for you to overcome it, and it makes you better. So, hopefully when people watch me, they can feel, my energy and my strength, and it can help them in their life too.
In your career, you've only been stopped once, actually by punches. The other 2 have been by cuts, and then you had a submission because of an injury, but you've only really lost by decision. When you had these great fights, like with Billy Evangelista and Zarumskis, and you come up short because of the decision, you touched on a little with it being, just somebody's opinion. When you lose a fight by decision, but it's a really, really exciting fight, and, people are talking, hey, this is fight of the night, this is an awesome fight, I love this fight. Do you take it as, a moral victory when you hear that kind of stuff?
Well, I think some people say there's no such thing as a moral victory, but I really believe that if you go in and you prepare hard, and you go into a fight, or you go into any kind of competition, and you give everything you can possibly give, I really believe you win that fight, man. I really do. I think that if you fight hard and you give everything you can, I think in your heart and your soul, I think that's what life is really about, because you can't always win. And I think that's what fighting and competition really show you, is it doesn't matter how great you fight, you can still come out short, and I fought fantastic sometimes, and I feel like I won the hands down, and I've lost. So, I think you can't really put your hopes on let's just say the judges or any other, end result. I think you just have to really go in there, and when you're fighting, do your best to finish. When the opportunity arises, give everything you can to finish the fight. And, I think that's why people really enjoy watching me fight. I fight with my heart and soul. I'm a very proud Native American, but I feel like I have a warrior spirit that we can all relate to. My heroes growing up, they all had that warrior spirit inside of them. I love watching, like, Junior Seau was a football player here in San Diego.
Right.
And he had that warrior spirit every time he competed, Every time he was in the field, I felt his energy. And so, I used to watch boxers like Evander Holyfield. There's a guy right there that had a warrior spirit,
Right.
So, all those competitors, I feel like, for me, they gave me that energy, and every time I compete, I really do my best to give as much energy as I can, in my fight for the crowd and for my people, for my family, and just for the people, the fans, the fans are watching. I think that's what our sport is really about, is giving that positive energy back to them.
Now, what happened with Strikeforce? Because a lot of people were surprised that you haven't fought for them anymore, because the Billy Evangelista fight was a great fight, and then the Zarumskis fight, the eye poke happened, and you really didn't, get a chance to do anything in that fight. What happened with them?
You know what? The whole merger was up. What happened? Actually, they were looking to get me on some fight cards in Strikeforce, and then Strikeforce of course got sold, and then everything was kind of on hold. And then Bellator picked me up, so for me it was a good thing. Strikeforce really treated me well when I was there, but Bellator, man, has really been for me now it's like a second home. They really Bjorn Redney he's such a caring person. He goes in the back and he talks to you, and every time I've met him, he has nothing but great things to say. And after the fight, he came to me and he asked me, "Man, are your hands okay?" He knew right away something was wrong with my hands. And I went to the press conference afterwards, and I tried not to go to the doctor. I was thinking, man, maybe I just sprained my hands. But then my whole body started shaking. And I was like, oh man, this isn't a good sign. I should probably go to the hospital now.
Right.
So Bjorn Redney was the first one to come up to me, at the press conference before anybody did, and asked me about how my hands were doing. And he really cares about about his fighters, and I think that's really good for sports, and it's good for MMA in general.
Waachiim, you're a guy who's it's been said a lot of times, with different fighters, this guy's never in a boring fight. But for you, it's true. You're never in a boring fight. All these fights are exciting. They're fight of the night. People are talking about them. What's more important for you? Is it getting a win, or is it being exciting for the fans?
I actually think that it sounds it may be a little odd, but to the casual person, but I actually think you can accomplish both every time you fight. I don't think you have to go out there and stab the person and try to run away and try to get a victory. I think you can fight hard. I think you can learn from your mistakes and really put pressure on your opponent, and have a great fighting fight every time. And like I said, let the chips fall where they will. If you go out there scared to lose, I think everybody loses. I really do. I think you have two fighters that kind of dance around, that jab each other 3 rounds, and then they let the judges kind of flip a coin. I just don't believe that's what competition is about. I believe competition is about taking risks, and of course, educated risks, but definitely taking a risk. Not being afraid. Courage is your ability to overcome fear. It's not being without fear. But, for me, I just live that way. I live my life that way. And, I have a son who's 14 years old. He's my pride and joy. He's already bigger than me. He's taller. He's heavier. And, I hope that my adversity and every time I have, he can overcome it. It's his life. So, I really take it to heart, man. I push hard when I fight. I push hard when I train. To all my fans or anybody that sees me fight, please follow me on Twitter or Facebook, man. At Spiritwolf MMA. And you can get an idea of what I do on a daily basis. I'm a very real kind of person, and I just love to fight.
The only guy to ever stop you is Rick Legier, but you've also beaten him. I think he's in Strikeforce, but I'm not real sure because he's only fought there one time. But if he were to become available and a rubber match with him, would that be something that you'd be willing to take?
Oh yeah, I'm always the guy that did yes. In fighting anybody, man, and I have a lot of respect for any fighters out there. Because for the most part, I can't really fight anybody but the best. Nobody will really take a fight against me. I think because they think maybe I'm too risky or I'm too wild or too dangerous or whatever they think. But I for some reason I only get the toughest guys around. They're either undefeated or they're the number one prospect of an organization. So those are the guys that they put on my fight record. I mean, if you look at the people I fought, their records are crazy compared to mine. I got guys. Like I fought Crafton Wall, and she was 19-4, right. The best guy in Florida, and nobody would fight him. And they called me in 2 weeks' notice, and I ended up fighting him. And I was able to beat him in the first round. But that's just the story of my life. I take those risks, and I fight the guys that people don't want to fight. And I think it'll pay off for me in the long run because it's only going to make me better. It's only going to make me tougher to go through these obstacles. And think my time is coming, man. I feel really good. I feel really strong, and even when I have a bad fight, you know, like you said earlier, you know, it'll be by a decision. I'll lose. I'm not really getting stopped. I'm not getting submitted or knocked out. So, you know, I'm just going to keep on rolling and getting better and better.
You were supposed to have a fight back in March with Jesse Juarez. Is that a fight that you still want?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. You know, I mean, you're right on. You know, you really did your homework. Mm-hmm. You know, I would absolutely love to fight. You know, Juarez or anybody else you can throw at me. You know, I'm pretty sure Bellator is going to be calling me. You know, for my next bout in October. But you know, I just never know where you know, the big man above is going to put me, man. You know, I think the Creator has a plan for everybody. You know, and especially being a proud Native American. You know, I just feel like you have to have absolute faith. You know, you have to train hard. You have to be ready for anything. So, you know, I'm doing that right now. You know, my hands are busted up still, and they're healing up. But, you know, I still have a lot of other areas I can excel at. So, you know, if anything, it just doubled up my leg workout.
Yeah. Jesse Juarez, he said that a fight with you was personal for him because you had beaten a former teammate of his at the time. They were both training at the Body Shop. You beat Brett Cooper, and he said that you know, it was personal with him. Now, on your end, is there any bad blood on your side?
You know what? When I fought Brett Cooper, you know, and that's a really good question. You know, but when I fought Brett Cooper a few years back, he was an interesting thing, man. You know, Brett Cooper, I mean, he still is a very tough and durable fighter. You know. I saw him at this last fight in Bellator. He was in the back cornering Brian Baker, and you know what, man? He's really me and him shook hands, and I wished him well, and I wish, of course, Brian Baker won his fight. You know, and Brian, of course, you know, he got heel hooked in the first round.
Right.
You know, thank goodness he's all right. But you know, I guess back when we fought a couple years back, you know, we were both hungry, and you know, I think it was bad blood back then. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I felt like he really looked past me and wasn't really giving me the respect, you know, that I think he should have been. And he was on Inside MMA talking about his next fight, you know, versus Takanori Gomi. After he beat me, he was going to fight Takanori Gomi in 30 days. And he was, you know, and you know, and I know, too, the media kind of sets it up sometimes where, you know, they after he won his fight, what's he going to do? And, you know, he's, oh, yeah, I'm going to fight Takanori Gomi, you know, and then I'm going to the UFC afterwards, and okay, you know, like he has these plans, and I'm thinking to myself, the last thing he's thinking about right now is Spiritwolf, you know, and that's not good, you know. So it definitely motivated me a little bit more, as if I needed any motivation, right?
Right.
But you know, I went in there, and you know, we had a good fight, man. You know, went in there, I pushed the fight. I think I caught him by surprise. He wasn't expecting my hands to be it, but it was. I think that's one of my first fights where I really let my hands go. And, you know, he threw a knee, I countered, and he threw the same knee again, and I was able to hit him right on the button with an overhand right. So, you know, it knocked him out. And, you know, I think for me, it really did a lot for my career. And, you know, I have no bad blood for Brett. You know, like I said, I talked to him, and you know, I really wished him well. And now he's fighting for Bellator, too. So, you know, I think there's a mutual respect once the fight's over. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you know, coming full circle with your question on the bad blood between I guess it was the Body Shop.
Yeah,
which
right.
was Brett Cooper, Jesse Juarez, and Antonio McKee.
You're right.
You know, those guys were just big talkers, man. Back in the day, they were talking how they're better than everybody, and they were you know, they're going to beat people down, and you know, they kind of remind me of a bunch of bullies, you know. And I think I didn't like that. You know, ever since high school, you know, I was always the guy that would stop the bullies from you know, kind of harassing everybody. You know, I'm not a big, I'm not somebody that's going to sit there and watch somebody, you know, kind of run their mouth or abuse their strength from people. And, you know, people that watch Antonio McKee fight, that's kind of like what he does, you know.
Right.
So, you know, and I haven't talked to Antonio for a few years, so I'm not sure how he is today. But for the most part, you know, when he would do his interviews, you know, they did have a lot of negative things to say about their opponents, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. So, you know, when I fought Brett Cooper, I feel like, you know, I told him I let my hands do my talking, and I talk him, you know, when I fought. So, you know, when I beat Brett Cooper, you know, I pointed right at Antonio, and I said, hey, man, he wasn't ready for Spiritwolf today. He wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. You know, and I really took it personal. You know, I felt like, you know, if he didn't come out and fight his best, it would be a short night for him, and you know, it was my night that night. So, you know, I'm always, you know, I'm a really excitable guy, man. You know, when I get in there and I fight, I just give everything I can. And it was a big win for me, and I look forward to having more big wins coming up, because, for me, I know my time's coming again. I feel great. Physically, I'm stronger than I was in the past, and I'm faster. My hands are faster, and I'm seeing things. I'm seeing things like I wasn't seeing before. So, I felt good in this last fight, and I feel like in this next fight, people are going to really, they're going to really see something exciting. I'll finish the fight, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be early in the fight. So.
A lot of people who have seen you fight and know you, they know what you bring to the table. They know that you're an exciting fighter. But for people who maybe have never seen you fight and look at your record, your record's 9 wins, 11 losses, 1 draw with 1 no contest. It's not that impressive of a record, but what does your record fail to show that you do as a fighter?
I think it fails to show, number one, the quality of opponents.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, a lot of my opponents are, they have, 1 or 2 losses. They'll have, some of them have 20 or 30 fights. Mm-hmm. So, you're essentially they're putting me up against the best you can find. And, when I win, they're out in the first round. They're out in the first round. They're lucky to last, another round after that. But, if it isn't my night, it goes to decision, and I'm on the short end of a decision, So, for me, it's been, it's been a hell of a ride. But, I feel like I'm getting into the second part of my career. I'm 36 years old, but I feel like I'm a very young 36. I feel like I don't have a lot of miles on me. This is the first injury I've had with my hands, and I'm healing really fast. So as long as my body continues to heal, and, I'm having tremendous support from my family and my friends and my students, I'm going to keep fighting. So I feel like I've been a pro for 6 years, and I'd love to fight for another 5 to 6 years. I feel like, I didn't have an amateur career. When I started, there really wasn't any amateur fights. So, I've essentially had to kind of learn on the job,
Mm-hmm. Now, your style, what would you say is your style? Because a lot of people who see a fight, he's just a brawler, he just loves to throw bombs, and that's really it. But your record, it speaks for itself. You're tough to submit, you're tough to, get to the ground, takedowns and stuff like that. You're real good at that. You're pretty well-rounded, but just people, they see these, these slugfests, and they think you're just a brawler. What would you tell people your style is?
You know what? I think, I get that question quite often, and that's a fantastic question. And the only way I can describe it to people is my style is aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I'm an aggressive fighter. And whether we're standing on the ground against the fence, I'm just aggressive, man. And I can do it for 3 rounds. I can do it for 5 rounds. I can push and push and push. And I just take a lot of pride in every second of that fight, pushing and looking for a finish. And I'm going to hit you. I'm not going to hit you soft. I'm going to hit you hard. So I think that's where kind of my brawler stereotype comes from. Is if I can't hit you, I might as well hit you hard. Why hit you soft, right?
Right. Right.
So I'm gonna try to hit you, and I'm gonna try to put a little bit of of extra juice on it and a little extra mustard, and I'm gonna get that hard shot. So I love straights, I love hooks, I love uppercuts, and I throw them in bunches. So on the ground I'll throw some elbows. Against the fence I'll throw knees, hard knees, and so forth. And I just try to always work, man. I tell my students, just put your hard hat on and get to work. Get in here and get your bag work in and get your fight training in. And I feel the same way when I'm fighting. I feel like I don't get paid by the round.
Right,
so the sooner I finish the fight, the better.
Right. There's no overtime.
I think it's impressive, yeah.
Right. Waachiim, you're 36 years old, which I find is surprising because I thought you were like 28 or 29. You look really good. So I'm surprised by that. But how long do you think you'll be able to fight? Do you see yourself, maybe possibly pulling like a Randy Couture where you're fighting to your 47 or 48? Do you see that possibly in your future?
Well, I really hope not, man. I hope I'm not fighting that long. I hope, as soon as the big 4-0 comes, I start to wind down, kind of like Dan Henderson,
Right.
Dan's a great guy. He's in his early 40s. And, I've had the honor of training with Dan and training with Randy Couture. And those guys, man, they're such great guys, and they have really good hearts, and they gave me a lot of really good advice, And I'm going to fight. My goal is about another 5 to 6 years. That's my goal, and I'm going to fight the big fights, and I'm just going to look to get in there, get a winning streak together, and try to really just focus on getting better every fight. And I think once you start getting better, I think it's time to hang it up. So, you know, I always try to evolve. I'm always watching the newest fights, looking at the newest techniques, you know, definitely looking forward, you know, never looking back, you know. So I would like to fight another 5 to 6 years. That would be my goal. So I guess that puts me in my early 40s.
Right. Now, you mentioned the training with Randy Couture and Dan Henderson. I'm pretty sure Randy Couture has discovered the Fountain of Youth. Did he give you a little bit of that?
Yeah, you know, he told me a couple secrets, man. And you know, I tell you, you know, it really helped change my life. You know, I trained with him right, you know, when I was 30 years old, 31, and he told me, hey, Spiritwolf, you know, you're younger than me when I started. He said he started at 33. He goes, and don't let anybody tell you you're too old, man.
Right.
And I said, oh, thanks, I appreciate it. And you know, he really had a lot of good things to say. I filmed a show with him in Hollywood called for National Geographic called The Fight Science, and it was a Randy Couture, Boss Rudin, you know, Tito Ortiz, and Dean Lister.
Right.
You know,
I saw that.
It really, you know, it really helped launch my career because I had a certain sense of confidence after that. After doing the show, because I was able to spend so much time with them and kind of see who they really were, and I started realizing that, you know, they were just normal guys, you know, they were normal people with just a lot of heart. So it really helped me. It kind of launched my warrior spirit, I think, and it gave me the confidence I needed. So I was really grateful for that experience.
Waachiim, thank you for being so generous with your time. Real quick, before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you would like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Oh, thank you. I would definitely like to thank all the fans for the love and support. You know, once again, please follow me on Twitter. You know, I love hearing from my fans. So if they go to @Spiritwolf MMA, and also Facebook, same thing, @Spiritwolf MMA. You guys can hit me up, send me your pictures. You know, I love interacting with the fans. You know, because you know, I know a lot of fans got questions, and a lot of fans have a tough life on their own. You know, and anytime they see you know, somebody going through you know, adversity, you know, I think it kind of bonds us as people. You know, and you know, anytime I can give them hope or inspiration to overcome any adversity, for me, I'm honored to do that. And you know, I also want to thank my sponsors. You know, Future Legend, Contract Killer, you know, Sold by Ludacris, Rev Energy, and you know, Iridium Sports Management. You know, everybody. You know, I get so much support from them. You know, I want to thank everybody once again, all my sponsors, GMC, Scripps Ranch, especially. And thank you for your interview. I appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. Waachiim, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.